All right, so welcome everyone to the latest Trees Around the Globe student research campaign. This is highlighting biometry measurements through student research projects and online tools with the Globe Europe and Eurasia and Globe Near East and North Africa regions. The reason why we're still including Globe Europe and Eurasia, because we have a presentation from students in Croatia who were going to present several months ago, but they needed a little bit of time to work on a project. And then we're going to have there are several students here that are part of the presentation group for this student research project. Some of the ones that were part of it, they're actually right now there is the Globe Croatia competition going on right now, so some could not be here live, so they're busy, at the Globe Croatia competition. So we wish them luck with that. But we're going to primarily focus on the Near East and North Africa region and like I said, a return to Globe Europe and Eurasia. So we have a lot going on today, as you can see. We have a combination of, we have a little warm-up activity we're going to do, and then also some introduction to campaign metrics. We will then show the second part of the video with Salma. The interview video with Salma Al Zubi from the Globe Near East and North Africa Regional Coordination Office, and she did a interview with Peter Falcon, and then we will jump to Peter Nelson. Peter Falcon, is Peter Nelson, is he here yet in the webinar?
I forgot I was muted. No, not yet.
Okay, so Peter Nelson had a family emergency recently, so he may not be joining us, but we will cover some of the things that he was going to talk about in this. But hopefully he comes, but if he doesn't, we understand with everything going on. And then Peter Falcon will be talking about some of the things that he's been looking at recently with National Geographic and trees. And once again, pardon my voice because I've done a lot of talking, and allergy season is here right now where I live, so it's pretty rough on my voice and my vocal cords. But then we will then focus on 5 student research presentations, and it's going to be an odd combination of presentations because the first one is going to be working with Shime Budanika and Zadar, and it's a video that was prepared by Nora and Michelle, and they are, I believe, here with us today in attendance. We will show in that video and doing some Q&A after that. And then we have Sultan Amagowed is here. Hopefully everything can, be good with his microphone and his audio about the Green Saudi Initiative work they are doing in Saudi Arabia. And then we have 3 prepared IVSS videos that focus on some trees and mangroves, as well as some SEAS program videos with looking at land cover and extreme events. And those are all prepared IVSS videos. And what we're going to do with the prepared videos is we're going to collect any questions in the chat and then get them to the folks in charge of the SEAS group, like Peter Nelson and Rusty Lowe with Globe Mission Mosquito, and try to get answers to some of the potential questions for this. And then we will then finish up by looking at some metrics for the current 2022 spring tree height and land cover intensive observation period. So with that said, we're going to move on to our warm-up activity like we've done before. And what I would like you to do is take a look at these two images of trees and look at these and figure out which one you think best represents the Near East and North Africa region the best. It doesn't mean that these trees are necessarily indigenous to this location. It's just that you may see these in these areas. So we have 2, the Jacaranda mimosifolia, and we have the Pinus sylvestre. And these are 2 trees that show up all around the world in different places. But I want you to put in the chat where you think, which one of these images you think is most representative of the Near East and North Africa region, and where you may see these trees, one of these trees specifically, if you might see them there. So we'll take a couple minutes and do that. And if things pop up, Peter Falcon, please feel feel free to read those out from the chat. So we'll
Will
do
do.
that a couple minutes.
Oh, this one looks like a tough one.
Yeah, I wasn't going to throw in a an Arctic, an alpine conifer tree, because that might have been a little too easy.
Well, nothing in the chat box yet, but when
All
it
right.
pops up, I'll be sure to read it off.
Yeah, this might take a little bit more thought. These are tricky. Or if someone would like even to unmute, feel free to unmute and say which one you think is most representative of this location of the Near East and North Africa region.
We have a couple comments. Let's see. I believe the girl's from Croatia, thinking it's the Pinus sylvestris. Larissa has mentioned, I'm not sure, but I think the jacaranda grows in South Africa.
Okay.
It was worthwhile to take a guess.
All right. While people are thinking, I'm going to move ahead and talk a little bit about these trees. So if that's okay with you, Peter?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All
Valerie,
right.
just one more comment. Valerie is thinking it's a Pinus sylvestris. The tree is
All right.
white swept on dry grass at the edge of a lake or water body.
All right. All right. So first, the jacaranda tree, the Jacaranda mimosifolia. It's a subtropical tree native that's good to Central South America that has been widely planted elsewhere because of its attractive and long-lasting violet-colored flowers. Remember, I said it does not have to be a tree that's indigenous to this location, but it is also known as the jacaranda, the blue jacaranda, the black paw, and the nurpa or fern tree. Even though it is not native to Egypt, they are found throughout the country in large numbers. So these have been brought to Egypt, but they have been found, they're not native to, but they have been found all over Egypt. And I don't know if anyone on this webinar has been to Egypt and have seen these, but as I mentioned, it doesn't have to mean that it's indigenous to that area. The Scots pine, or the Pinus sylvestri, is a species of tree in the pine family, Pinaceae, that is native to Eurasia, ranging from Western Europe to Eastern Siberia, south to the Caucasus Mountains and Anatolia, and north to well inside the Arctic Circle in Fennoscandia. That's actually the first time I've ever heard that term, Fennoscandia. In the north of its range, it occurs from sea level to 1,000 meters, while in the south of its range, it is a mountain tree growing at 1,200 to 2,600 meters altitude. So you do see these, as Valerie mentioned, in these windswept areas. You can see these grasses here. So that was kind of a tricky one today. It wasn't anything related to if it's a native tree of the area, but it's one that is found throughout Egypt. And I don't know if anyone has actually on this webinar has actually seen one of these trees. I haven't in person, but they appear to be very beautiful trees. So moving on, here's our core campaign team. All right, I add this every time. And we actually have Peter Falcon, of course, is here. Doreen is here as well. Peter is not here. Dr. Christopher Schumann he's doing other things right now. And then me as well. So a couple metrics, and once again, I'll pull you down to the bottom of this chart. For the full campaign, we are closing in on 50,000 tree height observations from almost 20,000 sites. We are over 26,000 land cover measurements from over 17,000 global sites, and almost 30,000 green up, green down measurements from over 770 global sites. And once again, all these numbers here just showcase the great amount of data that is accessible for students researchers, professional researchers, just over the life of, just over probably about 4.5 years so far of the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign. So this really helps us look at, data that helps us look at change over time. But as you can see, with the campaign, we've had 44 specific campaign webinars, this being the 45th today. But we've had 9 special webinars, including the IOP webinar and some other ones that we had, special webinars with different globe regions like Globe Africa, Globe Latin America and Caribbean and other locations. We have participants from 59 countries. And as you know, we have many blogs related to the campaign, over 146,000 views right now. So, thank you all for all the awesome observations that are coming in. And as you know, we're right in the, basically in the middle of the spring 2022 tree height and land cover intensive observation period. And I'll get to that at the end of the webinar, where our numbers stand. I'm going to let you know that we're doing really well. We're getting a lot of good amounts of data in for this, more than we usually get just in your standard month with tree height observations. And I also want to mention again that if you want to check out all about ICET2 and where it is and what the orbit is, if you're going to go out and take observations and want to do some observations when ICET2 is nearby your location, you can check it out on Google Play if you have an Android device, or on Apple if you have an Apple device as well. So you can check it out. There are a couple links down here. We'll include those with the webinar recording up on the webinar page, after we get the recording back from Zoom and I'm able to have the time to put it up on the website. So let's play part 2 of the interview. We played part 1 at last month's webinar. We're going to play part 2 today. So let me go ahead and start this. And this is once again with the Globe Near East and North Africa Regional Coordination Office's Salma Al Zubi from Amman, Jordan. So this was conducted with Peter Falcon. And you will notice that Salma's video does not come up because when they were recording this, there were some technological issues and some bandwidth issues with the camera. So Salma kept the video off. But let me go ahead and play this video right now. Part 2.
And one thing I've noticed being a part of the program for a few years now is the Near East and North Africa region is always well represented in Globe conferences, in the Globe Learning Expedition, and also in the International Virtual Science Symposium. I'm also a judge, so I often see each year at least one project from the area. So how important is it for students from Globe Near East and North Africa to work on research and also submit Globe IVSS projects that align with the Trees Around the Globe student research campaign?
As I told you before about the land cover in our region, we have a lot of part of the region is desert. And specifically, we have 5 or 6 countries, they are in the desert. Gulf and Saudi Arabia, and also Kuwait. A lot of countries in our region, they are in the desert. So, but we encourage them to make something, make offer to do different protocols, specific land cover protocol or around the campaign, IVSS, specific for the globe campaign trees around the world, around the globe. So I have 2 times or 3 times question from the countries, and they ask how to do that. And we send this question for our training here. She is Nahid Ajloni, and she all the time answer what they should do, specific mock or something like this. And she tried many times when mentioned this one in the region coordinator meeting. All the time we talk about this IVSS and how to submit, how to do many protocol, not only 2 or 3 protocol as usual. We need something more creative. So we're going to encourage them to do the land cover specific or unspecific mark or something like this protocol.
Understood. Yes. One thing we've also noticed is when we've done these webinars in different regions, it seems like each region, there is always a special tree, a tree that embodies the people, it helps them, spiritually or a part of their life, and it's really known in that region. I know in Madagascar as well as in Near East, there is the baobab tree. In California, where I live, we have the majestic redwoods, which are some of the largest trees in the world. And I know by just reading in Lebanon, the green cedar tree is huge. In fact, it's on the country's flag. So what are some other examples of really special trees in some of the different regions that you oversee there?
Yes, we have in Jordan specific popular shajar al-hur, it's popular trees. For we have pine tree also in Jordan. And we have it on Lebanon, in Palestine, and also in Tunisia, in Morocco. We have a lot of this kind of trees in the specific in Jordan and Syria, south of Syria, south of Lebanon, north of Jordan. We have this kind of pine trees, and we have a forester, yes, of this kind of this trees.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's incredible to see that trees are not just part of the landscape, but they're really part of the people in those cultures and part of the different regions. So it's neat to see these special trees. So we have 2 questions remaining. One of them is, are there any specific locations in your region where students should focus some of their globe efforts? Areas where maybe there's a lot of trees flourishing, or perhaps areas where these trees may be in jeopardy?
Yes, we should focus in the trees around specific in Lebanon, Morocco, Pakistan, and Jordan. Also in north of Saudi Arabia. In specific, we have a big risk there, because there are a lot of forests that can come under fire and cut down, and there is no law to protect them, especially in these countries.
I see. Yeah, it's very important to enact something that can protect the trees in these areas as well.
Mm-hmm.
So last question, is there anything you would like to mention? Anything you wanted to add about the Globe Near East, North Africa region with the students, or any campaign that you may be working on? Just want to know if there's anything you wanted to add before we close.
I have 2 recommends. One, to tell all the people, all the students, or the Globe members, or student teachers, and a team in different countries in the region, join the Globe campaign. Continues the protection, the future, and scientific study to clarity and informed knowledge. And I recommend also to encourage all the students in the region to join Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign. And we also, as our CO, will support this as we can. We will do that.
Thank you, Salma. Thank you very much for once again being a part of the Globe program. I know it means a lot to the students you work with and the teachers you support as well. Thank you for being a part of the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign, for being with us today in this interview. And thank you for just sharing your experience with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Falcon, and nice to meet you again. And we hope to see you face to face next time.
Would love to, yes. I miss these face-to-face meetings. There's so many friends and family that I miss the past few years.
Yes, that's right. We are Globe family.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Peter, for doing the interview with Salma, and thank you, Salma, for doing the video with Peter. Yeah, so there's, some great lessons to be learned there, especially, talking about, some of the trees that are in jeopardy because there's nothing to protect them. So it's really important for, people to understand, it's not just an idea of, measuring trees and looking at trees, but, we need to protect those trees as well, especially ones in those, those areas where, volatility is a big thing. So, so definitely, take that into consideration when you're potentially doing, research projects is, what type of impact, can I, or, me as a teacher have on my students, and what kind of impact can my students have when they're doing observations, when they're making sense of the data, and how, how the data and student research can, apply in the real world. So, that's one of the huge things we do at NASA. We have a whole applied science program where, we have scientists working on how the science makes sense in the real world. How can the science help our planet be a better place? How is our planet responding to change? So, sky's the limit there, but yeah, there's definitely lots of things to be learned with this interview. So thank you all so much. All right, so Peter Nelson joined?
No, Brian, he has not.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to cover just quickly here before we move into, after this, it's going to be, I'll pass it over to Peter to talk about the National Geographic and trees. But I wanted to show you this, and Peter and I wanted to show you this because this ties in a little bit into last month's webinar with Dr. Jonas Jägermeyer, who was talking about agriculture and looking at maize or corn and wheat production and agriculture, and some of the places where they're seeing some drastic changes due to climate change issues. So as you know, our mission, our campaign has a lot to do with the Ice Cloud and Land Elevation Satellite 2, or ICESat-2. You've heard this multiple times from me and our campaign team. But you've heard, a little more infrequently about the GEDI mission, the Global Ecosystem Dynamic Investigation mission, which is an instrument on the International Space Station. And this mission focuses on, laser altimetry like ICESat-2 does, but it focuses on figuring out the tree canopy height in basically the mid-latitudes between 56 degrees north and 56 degrees south, which is basically the orbit that the International Space Station takes, basically around the equator location. So we're not looking in the Arctic, we're not looking in the Antarctic with this. We're focusing on this mid-latitude region. And what's cool about this is that, even though ICESat-2 takes global observations, this one GEDI takes really concentrated tree canopy height observations in these latitudes between 56 degrees north and 56 degrees south. And what's really cool here is, we were able to create a combination of looking at the ground truth data, meaning the data that we know that is being collected on the ground for these areas. And you can look here, GEDI was focusing on 3 regions of China, France, and the United States. And then you can look at the bottom here, which is the prediction from GEDI and Sentinel-2. Sentinel-2 is a satellite mission from the European Space Agency. But if you look at the animated GIF on the right side, you can see there's a combination. They put the combination together. We have the ground truth versus the GEDI and Sentinel-2 prediction. And you can see here that the GEDI prediction is very close to the ground truth. So this helps us, this helps provide that extra, the extra sets of data that researchers can use to really look at these corn crops or this agriculture in these locations. And this is, we do this globally, as far as in between these specific latitude, longitude. But what's really cool about this is that it aligns itself to what we've been doing with comparing the ICET2 data to the globe data, whether it be data coming in for tree height using a handheld clinometer or using the NASA Globe Observer Trees tool. That, we do comparisons, and that's what we're doing here with a combination of ground truthing from scientists in the field to looking at the GEDI and Sentinel-2 prediction data. And you can see with this animated GIF here that the data gets really specific and really closes in on the specific, crop patterns in these locations. And there's a URL here. We will share that URL as well. I will put that in the chat after I stop sharing and Peter talks a little bit about the National Geographic. But we wanted to showcase this because, as I mentioned, since we are still in the Globe Near East and North Africa region, piggybacking off of what we talked about last month with Dr. Jonas Jägermeyer and his research presentation on the crops for maize and the wheat, we wanted to showcase this as something that, we are looking at. Basically NASA and the European Space Agency are teaming together to look at this, estimating certain crop growth and production across the world. So, you can take a look at that at your leisure with this link, and I will pop that in the chat in a second. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing and I will pass it over to you, Peter Falcon, to talk a little bit about, what, he's been noticing with National Geographic and a lot of their more recent stories and, really cool, features on trees. So it's such a huge issue right now. This is one of the reasons why we are still having this campaign. So let me pass it to you, Peter.
Thanks, Brian, and thanks, Mike Jabot, for showcasing that special edition. Let me go ahead and share my screen because I wanted to share that as well. Here we go. Let's move this down here. Okay. Thanks, Brian. For those that know, when we have these webinars, not only do we enjoy sharing interesting talks from scientists, educators, from our students as well, talking about the latest research in trees and forests, but we also enjoy sharing resources. If we come upon some neat articles, some publications, some videos, anything like that, that we think is appropriate to share with our audience here, with you guys, then we like to go ahead and do that as well. And one thing that I basically stumbled on was the latest National Geographic, as Mike showed the magazine there. It is a special feature on forest. And I know you have to be a subscriber to be able to get this, but you can also go to Newsstand if you're interested. It is a great research. There's about 4 or 5 different stories about forests and what's going on with drought and fires and deforestation. And of course, you can view it online as well. If you do have the subscription, I will put the link into the chat box there. Hopefully, maybe you can grab it. If not, you can at least kind of view it a little bit there. But it has some great imagery. Kind of like the only imagery that National Geographic's and you really put together. Every time I go to places like this and take photos, my photos look nothing like the amazing pictures that National Geographic does. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through this. And if it looks familiar, it's because it is a story map. And we're kind of familiar with the story map as Peter and Dorian have shared with us in the past. But as you can see, it has great imagery, great time lapse, and drone footage as well. And it has a great article that just basically goes and talks about the future of forests, how we're losing about 1/3 of Earth's forests in the past 10,000 years. And it says, I believe half of that is since the 1900s due to deforestation, logging, clearing areas for cattle and farmland and stuff like that. So it's a great read. As I mentioned, this is just one article, and just the images alone are amazing. Just going to quickly scroll through them. And it talks about force, not only in the US, but all over the world, how climate change is affecting our forests in different ways. In the wetlands, we're losing wetlands because of sea level rise and too much salt water that's going into the wetlands there, causing the mangroves like these, I believe, to basically, starve or go into drought because they don't have enough fresh water. Also talks about fires in Australia, even talks about how some animals, as the climate changes, the trees aren't producing, or the area is not producing enough rainfall to produce saplings and fruit for animals to eat. So it's really having, once again, not only this global impact with humans, but also the wildlife as well. Once again, the droughts, fires, lots of different things that are going on with our forests. So it is a great read. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I just want to show you the imagery because the imagery alone is amazing. I know Doreen read this as well. I think she's probably is long gone by now. But once again, it goes into some scientists talking about what they do, how they've been studying different forests throughout the world, and it's just, once again, I can't go over and tell you how much of a great read it is. Here is another little snippet. Let's see if this is going to pop up. If not, I have it here. Don't worry about it. Oh, there we go. It talks about the roots of crisis, and it shows you what a healthy tree looks like compared to a stressed tree, and also, just kind of goes into shows you how the trees are functioning, both a healthy version and a stress version. Also about the different tree beetle barks and stuff like that, and the insects that can affect the trees. It's once again, imagery is outstanding. So if you're not familiar with National Geographic's, grab a subscription if you can't. If not, do what I do. I would often go to the newsstand and just grab a copy and just stand there for quite some time and just thumb through it and read through, because once again, the information is great. Here's one more article. This is about Australia's Aboriginal people and how they're using slash and burn agriculture to kind of go through their area there. And then once again, another article about how the climate is affecting Africa's endangered forest elephants. So lots of great imagery, lots of great videos there, and also a great read. So I just wanted to share that with you and encourage you, if you have any resources, if you stumble upon anything that you think may be ideal for this group, please, either send it to us ahead of time. We can put it in the chat box, or if you need a few minutes to just talk about it, we can always give a few minutes where you can just kind of basically go in and tell the rest of the audience about that outstanding resource that you found. And I see, as I mentioned, I know Dorian has the magazine. I see Mike has it. If you guys want to chime in and add anything, by all means, please do. But once again, National Geographic's the Saving Forest Edition. It is May 2022. It's in your newsstands. If you're interested, go ahead and grab a copy. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Brian. If there's any comments about that, please put them in the chat box. Or as I mentioned, if you wanted to say anything about that magazine, please chime in as well.
Yeah, feel free, anybody, Mike or anybody who wants to mention anything about the feature.
Yeah, Mike actually just messaged me. He says Project Learning Tree has a couple incredible units. One is Forest of the World, and he said he can share that if you want. And I think we would want.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great unit. I mean, it's there are a number of their secondary units that I think that I use with our students here while we're doing tree height and land cover kinds of things. So happy to share the resource for everybody. So
thanks, Mike.
And Mike, we saw a lot of great observations. I saw a lot of great observations coming in from New York. So, I'm sure you were influenced
thanks.
there.
Thanks. It's amazing the power of a grade can have on level of participation.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Brian, I'll throw it back over to you, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat box as well.
All right. Thanks, Peter. All right. So let me go ahead and back and share my screen again so we can jump back into this here. We're going to start the feature presentations now. All right, Peter Falcons, I look okay? I have to keep asking because of all the weird glitches.
No, it looks good.
All right, cool. All right, so once again, we are going to now go to the featured student presentations, and we are going to start off with Croatia. So you students from Croatia, stay tuned. We're going to show your video, and then Peter is going to, lead some Q&A right after the video presentation. But, thank you once again to you and your teacher for submitting this. And we understand that a lot of your, the students and classmates are part of the Globe Croatia games right now, the competition. It's happening, I think, either today and tomorrow or yesterday and today, but multiple days this week. So thank you for, recording this video. So I've watched it several times and it's a great video. So I will stop talking now and I will show this. Oh, I should also mention, sorry, I forgot I had this map up, and I'll be coming back to this map to do links directly from it. But the ones that you see that are underlined, those are ones that are pre-recorded, and we're going to go directly to them. But we have basically two of the presentations or recordings are coming from the United States. And then the one we're about to go into is Croatia. And then we have the Green Saudi Initiative. And then we have another one from Saudi Arabia. It's a video that was submitted to IVSS, the Ecosystem Engineering at Mangrove site in Matalip coastline. So let me go ahead and move to the Croatia one. And then after that, after the Q&A, we will jump to the Green Saudi Initiative. We'll do a quick, mic test with that to make sure Sultan's microphone and everything's working okay. So let me move to this video first. So here is the presentation from the students in Croatia.
Hello, I'm Michelle. And I'm Nora. And we are happy about being part of this webinar. Today, we will present all work the students from our elementary school, Shime Budenic in Zadar, have done. We come from Europe, Croatia, and here you can see the city we live in, Zadar. It is located on the Adriatic Sea. Elementary school Shime Budenic is a part of the Globe team. Our school has been a part of the Globe program since 2011. We have about 50 students and 2 teachers who participate in the program. Our mentor is Inka Karin. We have 21 sites and more than 870,000 of data entries.
In the GLOW program, we're taking different types of measurements like atmosphere, phenology, biometry, soil, and water. About atmosphere, we're taking measurements about clouds, air temperature, precipitation, air pressure, humidity, and snow. And here we can see pictures of students who are taking that measurement. From water, we're taking measurements about water temperature, pH, nitrates, nitrites, salinity, transparency, oxygen, and alkalinity. Also, here we can see some pictures of our students who participate in GLOBE program. They're taking measurements on Adriatic Sea and in Park Vruljica.
We also take soil measurements. We measure soil temperature, soil moisture, soil infiltration, soil characterization, and soil fertility. And here are some pictures of our students who do all the measurements of soil. Next up, we have phenology. We observe budding leaves, green up and green down. This is a fig tree, where the students observe the green up and green down. In biometry, we care about surface temperature, land cover, tree height and circumference, and also biomass. And on this slide, you can see our students in action.
These are the globe campaigns we take part in. Trees around the globe, European phenology, urban heat island effect, UHIE, NASA Globe Cloud, and GPM campaign globe. On this map, we can see members of Globe community. There are 83 members, and our school is one of them. Also, we have learned 2 badges about intensive observation period. These are the 3 species which we can see every day on our sea coast, and that are Aleppo pine, Dalmatian black pine, and holm oak. We're taking our measurements around our elementary school Shima Budinic and a park Vrulica, which is nearby our school.
In Vrulica Park, we measure in autumn and spring. There, we observe biometry, measure 5 trees, and biomass. This year, our school is also part of Spring 2022 Globe Tree Height and Land Cover Intensive Observation Period, IOP, from 22nd April to 22nd May 2022. Our goal is to measure all trees around our school, which are more than 5 meters tall. These are the students who measured the height of the trees, only using the Globe app.
We are a part of Urban Heat Island Effect, UHIE, and you can see our school on the map. Here we can see surface temperature in 1 year. And down there, we can see students who are measuring the surface temperature. Here we can see members of European Phenology Campaign. There are 2006 members in Europe, and our school is one of them. And we can see our school on the map. All our measurements we are posting on a Padlet. Also, we have a partner in this phenology campaign. One school from Slovenia is also posting their measurements on the Padlet, so we can compare our measurements. Here we can see a green up of our 9-year-old fig tree. We're taking these measurements for 9 years, from 2011 to 2022. And here we can see all important things about our fig tree. And here we can see a picture of our mentor, Zrinka Klarin, and also there's pictures of our students in action.
We are honored that we could present our work, but also we're very sad that we're not able to see each other in person. Maybe another time. Sending lots of regards from Zara. Bye.
Thank you so much, Nora and Michelle, for the presentation. That was wonderful. I love the enthusiasm. Let me pass it over to Peter if there's any questions.
Yeah, I don't see it in the chat box, but my question is, first off, I love how you guys both sit on either side of you, both in the video and in real life there. You're sitting on the same side. And it's just like, what don't you do? It looks like you do every protocol with Globe. That is amazing. There is a question from Larissa. She says, great presentation. Can students please share the Padlet link? If possible, if you can do that. People are very interested to see what you're doing on your Padlock. That's something that's new that we noticed that more people are doing, using Teams as well as Padlet. So my question for you guys is, which protocol did you enjoy the most, and how did you know when to do? I assume you did it throughout the school year, not all at one time. How did you know when to go about making your measurements? What time frame in the seasons and stuff?
I think I enjoyed the most like measurements about water. I think That's the most interesting thing for me. How about you? So
Well, I can see why the water there in the Adriatic is beautiful. I actually was very fortunate to visit Zadar. Your teacher is outstanding. So please say hello to her for me. So I can see why you would love to do the hydrology stuff. What do you plan on doing next? And do you plan on working with other students from other countries?
oh well, if we can, yes. Why not?
And if I could just ask, which one is Nora and which one is Michelle? Oh,
I'm Michelle and this is Nora.
gotcha. Well, thank you, ladies. You guys did an excellent job. As mentioned, you did basically every protocol that we asked to do, and you did all at the same time, as well as being a part of all these different campaigns. That was amazing. So happy to see that you were part of not just the trees, but global precipitation measurement, urban heat island, and all the phenology as well. So great job. And if there's any more questions in the chat box, please go ahead and monitor that, and you can perhaps answer people directly through the chat box. And once again, thank you, girls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Brian,
much.
turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, Nora and Michelle. So yeah, it's still mind blowing, the number that you mentioned, over 800,000 measurements and observations. It just blows my mind. And that's just amazing dedication and, a group that really gets it, meaning that, one, the more data, the better. But I know, especially in Croatia, with a lot of other countries, of course, especially Croatia, the teachers and students are so, what's the term? So impactful and so careful with their observations. So it's amazing to hear that type of number. And also the tree, the one tree that you were measuring, since I think it was 2011. So, over 10 years, you've been measuring that same tree. So, that's amazing. That's the one thing that we love for everyone to do, to take, tree height observations, to take land cover observations, to, do soil characterization around these trees and be able to monitor, the growth of these trees and the environment around these trees for long periods of time. That's just amazing. And this really, really showcases the dedication that your school and group have really been as part of the GLOBE program and the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign. So, thank you so much for that. So let me go ahead with that and stop sharing, and we will check to see if Sultan is available for the presentation. So Sultan, is he here? Yeah. Sultan, can you unmute with the Green Saudi Initiative? Or if there's someone else from Sultan's group who will be presenting. Okay, I hear you. Is there a way you can turn your volume up a little bit, Sultan? We hear you, but it's very faint.
I'll try to rise up my voice.
There you go. Yep, that sounds good. We hear you.
Can you hear me now? Good, huh?
Yep, that sounds good. That'll work.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to welcome you all. And we will start our presentation.
Okay.
With the Saudi Green Innovation. Can you see now?
Yep, it's rendering now, I believe, but
I think you need to go to presentation mode.
yeah. Could you put it in presentation mode? It looks like we see a bunch of, if we can't, it's fine. We can work it with this way, but it looks like it's, we see just, we see all the slides on the side. Are you saying the same thing, Peter?
Yeah, in fact, I see just half of the main slide.
Maybe try the monitor icon at the bottom.
Sorry, can you repeat?
On the bottom, the icon on your presentation, maybe try the monitor one. There's a little monitor button to the right of the expansion button. It's hard for me to explain that. But it looks like it's in a, you have to put it in presentation mode. We see it differently. There we go. Looks good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you all for attending and talk about Saudi green innovation, which is mostly aimed to improve quality of life and protect future generation in the Africa and This GI brings together environmental protection, energy transformation, and sustainability programs to work towards three overarching targets to achieve a common goal of the future. I will let now my students talk about the three targets of the initiative. My name is Khalid. The Saudi Green Initiative has three targets. And I'll be talking about the first target, which is reducing emissions at the SGI Forum 2021. His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman revealed the roadmap for the filters. Energy transition, they announced that carbon emissions will be reduced by 278 million tons per year by 2030, and that they'll reach net zero by 2060. In addition, they will be joining the global methane pledge to cut global methane emissions by 30%. This will place Saudi Arabia in the forefront of the fight against climate change. This target will ensure to increase the capacity of Saudi Arabia renewable energy.
Emma.
As you see, the five goals, initiative aims to three goals: greening Saudi and increasing our greening Saudi, reducing emissions and protecting land. When our government revealed this invention, our outcome now from 1 year, more than 10 million trees were planted and all over Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. There were a couple audio issues there, but this looks like a great initiative, and it's really one of those initiatives that is so impactful for the local, for your location in in Saudi Arabia. It's a super important to see a combination of how the ground-based data and observation is taken, and then how it can be applied to the real world and get into the hands of the people who make the decisions. So let me pass it over to Peter now for any Q&A.
Well, Brian, thanks. I don't see anything in the chat box, probably because we had some audio issues there. But thank you for staying with it. I noticed you went from one mic to another just to make sure you had the audio, and I know you're having trouble since we just started, since we started this morning. But if there's any questions or comments, please put them in the chat box, and we can go ahead and address some of those questions. And I have to be honest, Brian, I had a difficult time trying to follow on just because of those issues. So it's kind of difficult to
Yep.
ask some questions because I just could not hear. But I was trying to follow on the slides.
Sure.
So yeah, I apologize. What you.
So I have one question if they're still here. My question is what was the reasoning? What was the reasoning behind you wanting to create this, Green Saudi initiative? Was there something specific? Yep, specific event that came up that was very important to you, or something that you wanted to showcase with the the local government in places in Saudi Arabia?
As you know, Saudi Arabia is 2 million square kilometers. Most of the land here in Saudi Arabia are desert. The climate is very hot in summer. With this initiative is to make the climate is very, how I say, more comfortable by planting trees. Trees will reduce the temperature and make the life is very clear and very beautiful.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, that's so important. A planting a tree initiative to see how trees are such an important factor, a climate change indicator. That as the more trees we have, the more air, that carbon dioxide can be pulled out of the atmosphere. And in areas around Saudi Arabia where there might be more population or more industrialization, areas like that may be giving off more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This is where we need the trees. So thank you so much for that. I think this is a great initiative, and one that really other countries, globe groups and countries should really follow suit and do that. So thank you so much for the presentation and bearing with the technological issues, but that's something that you get when we have Zoom and a basic literally an international webinar. So thank you so much for your presentation, and for all the students who worked on this, and other educators. So thank you so much, Sultan. And
Brian, I have a question, but I think I'm going to put it in the chat box so that we can be able to read it clear, and then move on to the next presentation. But I'll ask a question to you, Sultan.
All right, so we're good to move to the next one, Peter? Or do you want to?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen while Peter puts it in there. We're going to move to, we have 3 more prepared videos, and what I suggest you do is, if you have any questions or comments about these videos that are about to come up, please put that in the chat, and we will get them to the necessary groups in hopes that they will respond and answer these questions. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right, here we go. So we had the Croatia Inter-County Biometry Research, the Green Saudi Initiative, which you just heard from Sultan Amagawed. And now we're going to stay in Saudi Arabia, and we're going to go to the ecosystem engineering and mangrove site in Al Mathalib coastline. So this is a pre-recorded video. So hopefully this works. I'm going to click on this, and we should have this pop up here. All right, there we go. And let me pause this a second. So we're going to share this right here. The ecosystem engineering and mangrove site in Al Muthalif coastline. So let me go ahead and share this. This is a very short video, but this is really cool. So I want you to check this out. And as I mentioned, this was a project that was submitted to the Globe 2022 IVSS call for research projects.
This is my city, Al Muthalif. It's a seaport small city in the southwestern region in Saudi Arabia. Since we heard about a global issue at the school and media, we got attracted to any solution that we read or hear anywhere. One day, we heard about the Saudi Green Initiative's its aim to harvest 96 million tons of CO2 by planting mangrove trees. This chance is the one that me and my Globe team in the school are waiting for. So we signed as volunteers to participate in this event. But as a Globe students, we did it in our way. We collect samples of soil and seawater, study the location and climate here, and make our own study and research. These goals is a part for our future to coastline management. So in this research, we will spot in mangrove and how it's affecting ecosystem, also the location study of Al Muthalif city. To see our future, please join us.
All right, so what was really cool about that was that it was really, once again, a really nice call to, take the data and, they were basically, you might have seen the video, they were talking about the large mangroves and how much CO2 the mangroves can pull, out of the atmosphere, and talking about, planting more plants and trees and mangroves in their location to help combat this climate change issue that they're experiencing. So once again, it's another take an observation and then perform an action to make our planet better. So this is a really really cool and exciting one to do. So thank you for that, the students. And if you have any questions for them, we will get them to them. Just put those in the chat. I'm going to move over to move west to the United States, and we're going
Brian,
to.
before you do that, I just want to say, if Peter Nelson was here, his face would be beaming because he's always talking to us. We're always having this conversation about mangroves and the importance of mangroves, and how we're losing them and the effect that they have. So he would love that project because mangroves. He's, like I mentioned, he's always talking about them in our private conversations. So we definitely need to share that with him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm hoping to, and I've been initial discussions with Dr. Lola Fatoyinbo of the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, and her research in Latin America region for an upcoming webinar. Would probably be in the July webinar, July 2022 webinar. To we're going to try to focus on some of her research in that location. So stay tuned for that. Hasn't been set in stone yet, but we hopefully will bring her on to present her research. So now we're going to move over to the United States, and we're going to focus on two. And these have to do with the SEAS program that Peter Nelson and other members of our team are part of, and it's working with students Basically, they focus on a combination of looking at land cover and mosquito habitats and things like that. So we wanted to bring kind of this cross-campaign um, uh, student research presentation structure into this webinar with these two. Because as you know, we do focus on tree height in this campaign, but we also really have a great focus on land cover as well. So we wanted to include these two. So, and then I know Peter would have more to say about these if he was here, but unfortunately he's not. But we will show these videos because these are awesome videos with really dedicated students. So let's start by this first one, examining environmental and structural impact of extreme events on land cover. So here we go.
I'm Elisa Sherbatov,
Evan Chung, Joseph Ortiz,
Cassie Kilburn.
Benjamin Cope.
We examined the environmental and structural impact of natural disasters on land cover.
Natural disasters are a significant threat to humans and the environment. On average, they kill about 60,000 people and cost $45.7 billion annually. They can also leave toxic waste in water and soil. Climate change has increased the severity of disasters and tripled the number of climate-related disasters in the last 30 years. With this growing threat, methods to assess the impact of natural disasters have become vital to reconstruction in urban areas and understanding how climate change is affecting Earth. We sought to answer the research question, how have various natural disasters environmentally and structurally impacted land cover in areas across the United States? We thus aim to find the recovery time and impact of natural disasters by analyzing the effects of the Camp Fire and Tropical Storm Elsa. Our hypothesis was that the land would not completely recover from the fire and that the tropical storm would have little impact.
We chose satellite images from NASA Worldview to analyze the Camp Fire because it allowed us to select images at certain dates and zoom in on specific locations. We used CV2 and Python to analyze the RGB content of the images in order to produce the mean greenness of each image. Greenness is a measure of the health and state of vegetation. We analyzed a total of 28 images. We had one baseline image taken before the fire, one week zero image taken immediately after the fire, and one image for each of the 26 weeks after the fire. The weekly measurements allowed us to choose images that were least obscured by clouds. For Tropical Storm Elsa, we analyzed the impact on Bergen County, New Jersey. Since I live here, I was able to take pre and post storm pictures for the 4 cardinal directions at the 3 locations through the Globe Observer app. These pictures show the study sites of the Camp Fire in California and Tropical Storm Elsa in New Jersey. We also have the 3 picture locations in New Jersey on the right.
For the Camp Fire, we plotted greenness versus weeks starting at week 0. The blue continuous trend line on the graph represents the greenness over time, while the green dotted line on the top is the baseline greenness. We found that the damage was substantial, as shown by the 34% drop in greenness from the baseline greenness to the week 0 greenness. Greenness increased, but all greenness values after the fire were lower than the baseline greenness value. This result shows us that the land did recover from the fire, but recovery was incomplete. Finally, there was no outliers among greenness values after the fire. We found that of the 12 photos facing a chronological direction at one of the 3 locations, 2/3 showed no changes, while 1/3 was inconclusive. You can see the before and after photos at one location.
So our hypothesis was correct. We found that wildfire recovery takes longer than 26 weeks and Tropical Storm Elsa had little impact. Regarding errors, our choice of weekly images may have introduced bias, and the single baseline measurement may not be accurate. For Globe Observer, some of the before photos did not show the same land cover features as the after photos. Other studies made burn severity maps using the Normalized Difference Water Index, or NDWI. This metric measures moisture and is more accurate, but our method is still applicable to other natural disasters because it uses open access satellite imagery. While others have used satellite data to analyze changes in land cover due to natural disasters, fewer have relied on citizen science to understand the effects of storms.
We ultimately found that greenness and ground level pictures can provide information on the severity of damage caused by natural disasters and the time for recovery. We could replicate our investigation on wildfires and extend it past 26 weeks to see if or when complete recovery is reached. We can also take more pictures before and after storms in order to more thoroughly document their impact. Future studies can use our methods to assess the impact of other natural disasters. The use of machine learning may also allow us to better analyze changes in land cover. Finally, impact assessment shows the importance of research on land cover and allows for more comprehensive measures to prepare for natural disasters.
We would like to thank Pratham Babaria for inspiring the development of our Greenlist Code, Kavita Kaur for guiding us to study wildfires, Dr. Cassie Stoking for reviewing these slides, Dr. Rosanne Lowe and Dr. Peter Nelson for teaching us about land cover analysis, and all the other SEAS instructors who made this project possible.
SEAS has been an incredible experience. Here are our highlights.
Here are individual contributions.
Here are our sources.
And you can see that that was a very, involved presentation, and it really focuses on the importance of land cover observation on a continual basis, where, taking those observations of a changing land cover is super vital for understanding what's happening and what potentially could happen in the future. So, thank you to the students for that. And let's move to the last one here. And once again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will get those to the necessary presenters. This one's going to be analyzing local land cover data using surrounding data. So it's really, this is focusing on the specific data use of this to understand land cover.
Hello, I'm Yuvraj Sahu, and I will be presenting on an analysis of local land cover using surrounding data. So to provide a brief overview, my primary research question was, how can surrounding observations be used to predict land cover at any point in a grid? And so this is useful because scientists could use predicted land cover data for places that are not feasible or not possible to collect data for. And so to provide context, I use the Globe Observer app, which allows users to collect data about the surface of the Earth. And so I collected and classified land cover data in a 6x6 grid where the points were spaced 500 meters apart. And the grid looked like this. And this is located in Austin, Texas, and it shows 37 points. The center point was not included in the analysis. And these are known as the areas of interest, or AOI points. For each point, I analyzed a 100 meter by 100 meter area centered around the points. And I classified land cover in the north, south, east, and west directions. And so I created this visualization to give a general sense of the region. The black, darker colored boxes represent the known regions that I actually collected data for. And then the lighter colors outside the boxes are extrapolations. When doing the field research, I realized that the points were too far away to generalize to a larger region in this manner as shown in the graph, but they could still possibly use to predict the regions in between if multiple points came together in a sophisticated model. I created other visualizations for different factors, such as for evergreen trees, grass, and urban areas. This was actually the code that I created for this purpose. First, I converted meters to longitude and latitude. Then I organized the directions. Then I displayed a single data point. And finally, I displayed all the data points for a single factor. Now for the analysis methods. So for the analysis, I used a weighted average. So for every single rectangle in the grid, and for every point inside each rectangle, it predicts the land cover based on the 4 corners of the rectangle by using a weighted average of each of the values. So consider the blue rectangle. We will try to predict the land cover at point C. Since the northern corners are farther from C, they will have less of a weight than the southern corners. And since the angle difference for side A is less than that for side B, side A has more weight. Only sides A and B are considered since they are the only ones that face C. So to summarize, the distance and weight have an inverse relationship, and the angle difference and weight also have an inverse relationship. The following is the code to predict the land cover at a specific location. This is used to test every possible rectangle and every possible point inside the rectangles. This is used to summarize the results. And this is used as output, which is summarized in the following slides. So now for the results. First, I calculated the absolute error, and the absolute error is the positive difference between the predicted and the actual values. And by taking the average of these errors, I arrived at what's known as the mean absolute error. And so the units for these errors are percentage points. And as you can see, for deciduous trees, it is an error of 16.6 percentage points overall, then 13.4 for evergreen, 17.5 for grass, and 38.5 for urban. In general, the large rectangles tended to have larger errors than the small rectangles. Now for the conclusion. I learned that the data in a surrounding rectangle can actually be used to predict the land cover at a specific point in a grid. And for the implications, when coupled with other data, for example, mosquito data, this research can be used to predict land cover at specific places. And when coupled with this mosquito data, it can be used to reveal relationships between mosquitoes and land cover. And for further research, I could look into using new data, such as other AOI grids, satellite data, or assorted globe data. I could also try testing new models or applying this model to new contexts. And for a special thank you to the SEAS organizers for this wonderful opportunity. I've learned many things, from conducting citizen science to creating mosquito traps. And a special thanks to Dr. Lowe, Ms. Sofing, Dr. Nelson, and the SEAS scientist mentors for meeting with me and answering my questions. And finally, a thanks to Mateo and the SEAS peer mentors for their guidance. And thank you for listening.
All right, thank you so much. That was great. That really, you could see that was really involved, but it also showcased how you can look at the data that's currently out there to try to use that to predict what could happen in the future based upon the variables that you're looking at, right then and there. So yeah, great presentation. So we wanted to showcase this because with this campaign, what we really like to focus on is, a combination of data collection, data usage, and applying this data to the real world. There's lots of measurements, as you know, there's hundreds of millions of measurements for the GLOBE program. But unless that data really needs to make sense in every location. So this is why we want to showcase this. And I know that we're in the Near East, North Africa region, but because we are featuring some other complementary research projects in Croatia and Saudi Arabia, we also wanted to bring it over to the United States and showcase this combination of tree height and land cover with some of the other things like mosquito habitats and mosquito prevalence and things like that. So, once again, if you have any questions, we'll have the chat here, and you can put those in the chat and we'll get them to whoever we need to, because I get a whole copy, a transcript of the chat after the recording is processed. So to finish off the webinar, oops, sorry, not sure. Oops, sorry, went the wrong direction here. All right. So spring 2022 tree heighted land cover intensive observation period metrics. So when we started on Earth Day, 22 April 2022, excuse me, to today, 10 May 2022, we have 1,171 observations of tree height from 21 globe countries. And that's pretty awesome because in the 2 weeks that we've been doing it, usually in the 2-week period, if we're not in an IOP or if we're not in a NASA Globe Observer Challenge, data challenge, we don't even have close to that. So I think this IOP really helped out in getting more observations, and specifically for the students who might want to use this data in their research. And for land cover, we have smaller number, but we have a number that's usually larger. This is larger than we usually get in a 2-week period. 279 land cover observations from 15 globe countries. So thank you all for, these observations, and, keep them coming. I would love to see, 2,000 observations for tree height for the life of the IOP and 500 land cover observations. So, keep your fingers crossed and, get out there and take more observations. So just wanted to finish the webinar off with that. I will stop sharing. And my voice is just about gone. So I think we need to, close this up pretty soon. But thank you so much for this. If anybody has any last minute things they'd like to say, please feel free to unmute and, say what you want.
Brian, looks like your voice just made it to
Yeah,
the
right.
end of the webinar.
So
Well,
Thank
I'd
you
just like
for
to
a
say
great
thanks to all
webinar.
our yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, I just want to say something. Thank you to all our presenters. You know, we had some technical glitches there, but they kept with it. So I'd just like to give a shout out to our students and everyone else who took part and did the presentation and did the research to share with us today.
And we do see Valerie's question in the chat. We will get that question to the students working with the mangroves and get back to you on that. All right, well, that was pretty awesome because it is just at 12:30 my time, probably 9:30 a.m. Peter's time. So, you know, that timed out well. And usually we go over. So thank you all so much. And as Peter mentioned, thank you all so much to the presenters for their presentations as well. So you will see a notification coming out. We are working on the June webinar. Our team is going to meet later this week. And we will be having some featured presentations from students throughout the globe, Latin America, and Caribbean region in the next month's webinar. So stay tuned for that information. Thank you all so much and see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey,
Peter.
everyone.